All right, let's talk about something we've all felt. You ever have one of those weird, meaningful coincidences, the kind that just stops you dead in your tracks? It's a feeling pretty much everyone knows, but almost nobody can explain. Well, today, we're going to dive in and explore what might really be going on behind the scenes. I mean, you know the feeling, right? You're just randomly thinking about a friend you haven't talked to in ages, and then boom, your phone buzzes and it's them. Or maybe some super obscure word just pops into your head for no reason, and the next thing you know, you see it on a billboard driving by. It feels like it's got to be more than just pure chance. Well, it turns out there's actually a name for this experience, and that name opens up this huge, fascinating debate. A real tug of war between the idea of pure chance and something much, much deeper. The term is synchronicity, and it comes from the famous psychologist Carl Jung. And look, the key here isn't just that two things happened at the same time. The real kicker is that it feels personally significant to you. It has meaning. And you can't just brush it off with a simple cause and effect explanation or, just say, well, that was bound to happen sooner or later. Okay. So for a long, long time, science, especially physics and statistics, has had a pretty straightforward answer for this feeling. And you could even say it's a kind of dismissive one. The logic is actually pretty simple, right? Just think about it. We live in a world with billions of people having trillions of thoughts and experiences every single day. With that much stuff happening all the time, weird overlaps aren't just possible, they're statistically inevitable. It's like your life is this gigantic spreadsheet, and eventually a couple of random cells are going to line up in a way that looks amazing, even if it's completely meaningless. And yeah, there's an official name for this idea. It gets chalked up to the law of large numbers. It's basically a very neat, tidy way of saying, hey, nothing to see here, folks. It's just a statistical quirk. And honestly, for most people, that's where the conversation just stops. But what if that's not the end of the story? What if there's another way to look at this? See, there's a new way of thinking in fundamental physics. It's called constructor theory, and it offers a completely different and, frankly, a pretty mind-bending way to see this whole thing. So to really get this, we have to appreciate what a huge shift this is. Traditional physics, right, it's all about prediction. It's about using equations to figure out what will happen next. But constructor theory, it completely flips the script. It doesn't ask what will happen. It asks what can happen. What is even possible? It's a total change from predicting single events to, mapping out the absolute boundaries of reality itself.
And this new focus on what's possible brings a really important player to the center stage. Information. Yeah, information. Constructor theory is obsessed with how information is physically stored and transformed. It's constantly asking, what kinds of information-carrying tasks are even possible in our universe? Okay, so now that we have this powerful new tool, this new lens from physics, let's go back to those meaningful coincidences. What does synchronicity look like when we see it through constructor theory?
And suddenly, the whole conversation changes. We're not just stuck dismissing these things as a freak accident of probability anymore. Now we can ask a much deeper, much more interesting question about what these coincidences might actually be. So, through this new lens, a synchronicity could be seen as something pretty extraordinary. Think of it like this: a rare, but physically allowed channel of information. A channel between two systems we always thought were totally separate, like your own mind and the world outside.
Now, let's be super clear here. Constructor theory doesn't prove synchronicity exists. Not at all. What it does is something more subtle. It kind of forgives the concept from a physics standpoint. It carves out a little space for it, suggesting that, hey, maybe this doesn't have to violate the laws of physics. Maybe it could just be a very rare but totally possible type of connection.
And this really brings us to two completely different ways of looking at these experiences. On one hand, you have the law of large numbers, which says coincidences are just background noise. They're the inevitable static of probability. But on the other hand, this constructor theory lens, it suggests they might be something way more profound. Maybe they're a rare signal, a little peek into the deep rulebook of reality and all the weird and wonderful connections it allows. So, the big takeaway here isn't some final, neat answer. It's really more like a new beginning. We still don't have a final explanation for synchronicity, but what we do have now is a much richer, more interesting language from physics to even think about it. The whole question has shifted, you see. It's no longer just, how likely is this? Now it's, is this kind of connection even possible? So I'll leave you with this question. The next time one of those jaw-dropping, stop-you-in-your-tracks coincidences happens to you, how are you going to see it? Is it just going to be random, meaningless statistical noise? Or, just maybe, could you be getting a rare glimpse into the fundamental rulebook of reality itself?